Okay, so here's a weird one. Ask literally anyone who's worked with Americans from another country, and they'll all say some version of the same thing. These people just say stuff straight to your face. In meetings, to their boss, doesn't matter who's in the room. And it's not just a stereotype, there's actual research on this. Turns out cultures can be measured on something researchers call power distance, basically, how much people accept that some folks are just above questioning. High power distance. You don't talk back to your boss, ever. Doesn't matter how obviously wrong they are. Low power distance. Questioning your boss is basically Tuesday. And America sits noticeably below the world average, not the lowest on Earth, but low enough that it explains a lot. And the numbers get specific fast. The US sits at 40 on this scale. Germany's right next to it at 35. Compare that to Mexico at 81. China at 80, India at 77. Same species, same brains, wildly different default settings for something as basic as whether you're allowed to question the person in charge. And it's not just the office either. Watch how Americans behave in literally any customer service situation. Something's wrong with the order, they're not quietly annoyed about it, they're flagging down a manager. It's such a known thing that, "Can I speak to the manager?" became a whole internet joke. Practically its own hairstyle. But underneath the joke is the same instinct. If something's wrong, the assumption is you say something immediately to whoever's in charge, instead of just eating the inconvenience and complaining about it later to someone who can't actually fix it. You see it most obviously at work. American managers are kind of expected to ask what their team thinks, not just hand down orders. If a junior employee pushes back on something, that's not seen as disrespectful. It's seen as them doing their job right. Meanwhile, in a lot of hierarchical cultures, the senior person's word is basically final, no matter what. Now here's where it gets genuinely wild. This exact cultural habit has actually saved lives. Like, real, measurable, plane doesn't crash lives. Back in the day, aviation researchers noticed something disturbing when they pulled black box recordings from crashes in certain countries. Same pattern kept showing up. A junior officer notices something's wrong. Instead of just saying it, he hints, dances around it, doesn't want to overstep. The captain, way more senior, doesn't catch the hint, and the plane goes down anyway. The most infamous case wasn't even in the air. It was on the runway. Tenerife. 1977, two 747s collide in the fog. Over 500 people die. The captain flying one of the planes wasn't just senior. The guy was literally in the airline's ads like a celebrity pilot. When he started rolling for takeoff without full clearance, his own flight engineer sensed it was wrong. He said something, but not forcefully enough. Nobody wanted to be the guy who challenged the legend. The captain didn't stop. So what did the industry do? They didn't just build better planes, they rebuilt the culture inside the cockpit. It's called crew resource management now, basically training captains to actively want to be challenged, and training junior crew to just say the damn thing instead of hinting at it. And it worked. Accidents tied to that specific kind of communication breakdown dropped hard. Even America had its own version of this lesson. In 1978, a flight running low on fuel over Portland, and the captain so locked in on a landing gear light that he tunes out his own crew, warning him they're about to run dry. Same fix, though. Not a better plane. Just let the people without the title actually say what they're seeing. Okay, but this isn't just an aviation thing. It goes way back. Like, the actual founding documents of the country are basically a formal, extremely polite list of complaints against a king who wouldn't listen. Schools have historically graded kids on class participation, not just test scores, so people are literally trained from childhood to raise their hand and say the thing. And it's not subtle either. American kids get called on to defend opinions in class from a pretty young age, debate class projects, argue both sides of something on purpose. There's also this whole cultural thing in movies and TV, the straight-talking hero who says the thing nobody else will say and gets proven right by the end. Every Western, every courtroom drama, every underdog sports movie. The lesson kids absorb without anyone directly teaching it is that speaking up isn't just allowed, it's what the good guy does. There are actual laws protecting whistleblowers, because the culture treats speaking up, even against someone way more powerful than you, as something worth protecting. Doesn't mean it's easy for everyone. Plenty of Americans are shy, quiet, hate public speaking. All of that's real. But the expectation is different. Staying quiet when something's wrong isn't seen as neutral. It's seen as kind of dropping the ball. But, and this is worth sitting with for a second, speaking up isn't equally safe for everyone in the room. Women in professional settings have reported getting penalized for the exact same directness that gets a guy called confident. Same email, same tone, judged completely differently depending on who hit send. So this whole just speak up culture isn't some perfectly fair playing field. Some people have to fight a lot harder to actually use that permission. And it's not really an East versus West thing either, even though that's how the conversation usually goes. High deference to authority shows up all over: South Asia, the Middle East, Latin America, plenty of Europe too. It's not about geography. It's about whether a culture thinks power has to be earned in the room or just handed over because of a title. Here's a small but telling detail. In a lot of American workplaces, staying completely silent through an entire meeting doesn't read as respectful. It reads as either checked out or hiding something. Compare that to plenty of other cultures where silence during a meeting can be a sign of deep respect or careful thought or just knowing your place. Same behavior, completely opposite read depending on where you grew up. Which honestly might be the most American thing about this whole topic. We've built an entire culture around the idea that the quiet person in the room is the suspicious one. So here's the actual tension underneath all of this. A culture that trains people to speak up literally prevents plane crashes. It surfaces problems before they become disasters. But it's also the same culture where confidence sometimes gets rewarded way more than actually being right, where the loudest voice in the room isn't always the correct one. Cultures that stay quiet protect harmony, sometimes at a brutal cost. Cultures that speak up protect against that exact cost, but open the door to a different one. Nobody's actually got it figured out. Every culture on the planet is running its own version of this trade-off right now, whether anyone in the room even realizes it.